So I had seen this competition orange Terminator Cobra for sale on some of the Facebook pages, and the car was a roller. That means it was not running, it didn't have an engine or transmission in it, and the person who owned it was wanting to part it out because it had a lot of really good parts on it. Even the wheels alone were worth a couple $1,000s. And they had it listed as a part out, but then somebody had mentioned they'd like to buy the whole thing, and so they struck up a deal, and here's the car and all of the parts that went together as the package deal. You can see right in the middle there that big Whipple supercharger. Those are worth $3,000 or $4,000 just as they are. And so I think it was a good purchase for this guy, even though he will go on to say all the trouble he had putting the car back together. It's still definitely a car worth saving. It had like 76,000 miles on it, and it's definitely a car that's desirable and will always be sought after. The guy who bought it, he was on Instagram, Ryan Bailey 1995. I'll put that right here so you can look him up if you'd like to go on Instagram and see. But he had built a lot of really neat cars. He seems to be very qualified for what he was about to do with this car. And later in the post, when you see the car running, he admits to what kind of a nightmare it was to get this car back together. The seller had said that the car came with a fresh short block, which means the rotating assembly, the lower part of the engine that has the pistons, the crankshaft, oil pan, all that. But he said that it had used main bearings in it, and he found out that 3 of the pistons were installed and everything else was finger tight, and half of the specific rod bearings were missing. The other half were thrown into a box with various bolts which ruined the bearings. The ARP hardware that came with the car was for an iron block, not an aluminum block, and every hard to find '03 Cobra specific part was very difficult to come across. He said all the parts, the fasteners in the engine, the brake lines had been misplaced or thrown away by the shop that was doing the work on the car, and that the windows were actually left down or something for some point when the car was outside, and for several months it sat like that, which left the carpet being soaking wet when he got to it. It allowed water to be standing in the floorboards the whole time. He said the very rare charcoal seats had indentions from parts like the clutch or the rusty flywheel being thrown on them and left for nearly a year like that. The pinch welds underneath were nearly flat from improper jacking on the side skirts. The side skirts were trashed. When it came time to put gas in the car, the shop that decided to put a diffuser on the back had apparently drilled holes into the gas tank straps for the diffuser, and that put holes in the gas tank. And so he just goes on to say all the problems he had with the car. He had to go get it base tuned and everything, as you would imagine for a car like this that's coming together with all the parts. But it was definitely a car worth saving, and I can't believe how much he had to put into it like that, because I myself even considered buying this car and thinking, oh yeah, put it back together, put an engine in it, that'd be great, drive around, have another competition orange Cobra. But man, he really had to go through a lot to get this car back. So as you can see, he did really good work putting this car back together. It looks really nice. He didn't put the Whipple supercharger on there. He put a stock Eaton, and of course the engine's capable of a lot more than that, but I can understand that you can get a lot of money back out of that Whipple. So here are just some of the pictures of the car, all put back together and running. Here's a really nice picture of the engine bay. Really nice pictures of the interior, all back together, looking really nice. I'm sure he put new carpet and everything in it. But beautiful car. So he had it for a little while, and then he decided to go ahead and sell it. Just said he had lost interest in it. But here's a before and after of the car. And the new owner was really excited to get it, and I was able to watch this car get into the hands of the new owner through the Facebook page of Competition Orange SVT Terminator Cobras. You have to own one of these cars to be on that page, and so being on that page was really fun to see the new guy say, hey, I just bought this car, and a few of us had already known the story about the car, or we thought we knew most of the story about the car, And it's a really nice car, and it's back on the road, and it's in great hands now. So thanks for watching the video. I really enjoy all of the feedback I get from these. I've made a lot of friends. I like to see people are now making their own stories like I am of these, of their own cars. And I think that's great because then we can get all of our stories out there, and it's wonderful entertainment. These are my favorite kind of stories. So if you want to make a story of your own car, go ahead and do it, and put it in the comments, put a link to it. And hopefully everyone else watching these videos will see it and we can see your story.